Most people think their worst enemy is their ex, their boss, or maybe the neighbor whose dog barks at 3 a.m. But trust me, you haven't met pure evil until you've met a bored HOA president with too much time and not enough personality. My name's Cole Bennett. And 5 years ago, a woman named Denise Hawthorne, HOA president, self-appointed queen of Willow Point Lakeside community, stood on my dying dock, pointed her champagne-colored fingernail right at me, and said, "Sweetheart, you didn't buy a lake house. You bought trash. And trash belongs in a landfill, not next to my home." She laughed. Not a normal laugh, one of those slow, condescending country club cackles that makes you want to check your wallet. Back then, what I owned wasn't much. An $8 lakeside shack with a sagging roof, a dock held together by rust and prayer, and walls so rotten you could see sunlight through them. If you sneezed too hard, half the place would fall over. But today, that shack is worth $5.80 million, because the lake went viral on Instagram, developers swarmed, property values exploded, and suddenly every inch of shoreline was worth more than gold. And wouldn't you know it, Denise is leading a lawsuit claiming my land never belonged to me in the first place. She says it's community shoreline. She forged documents. She bribed officials. She even tried to get me evicted. Why? Simple. I got rich. And she couldn't stand that nobody, she mocked, now owned the most valuable parcel in the entire community. This is the story of how I beat her, and how she accidentally built the legal trap that destroyed her entire empire. 5 years earlier, my life was a wreck. 38 years old. Divorce finalized. Lost half my savings and all my furniture. 12 years as an Air Force avionics tech had taught me how to fix complicated electronics, but absolutely nothing about fixing a marriage. I left Texas because every street reminded me of my ex. I drove north until my soul felt lighter, Colorado mountains, crisp air, freedom. Then I saw it. A little hand-painted sign half buried in weeds. For sale, cash only, $8. Yes, $8. I thought it was a prank. Behind it sat a shack that looked like God sneezed with scraps into a pile and called it a building. But it touched the lake, actual lakefront, 50 feet of untouched shoreline. The owner, Evelyn Hart, was 84, sharp as razor wire, and funny in that "I survived life and nothing scares me anymore" kind of way. Built this place with my husband in 1951. She said. Her hands shook but her eyes sparkled. Kids want to stick me in assisted living. Would rather sell it to someone stubborn enough to love it. $8. I gave her a crisp 10 and told her to keep the change. Evelyn laughed so hard she cried. And then came the roar. A luxury SUV, white and polished to mirror shine, rolled up like the arrival of the villain in a movie. Out stepped Denise, blonde highlights, designer leggings, sunglasses bigger than my future. She looked at Evelyn. Then at me. Then at the shack. "Oh, sweet boy," she purred. "Tell me you're not buying that structure." "I am." She let out a single sharp laugh. "I guess every neighborhood needs charity cases." Evelyn muttered, "Ignore her. She's been poisoning the HOA since '98. I thought she meant metaphorically. Turns out, she meant literally. But we'll get to that. Denise leaned in close, perfume thick enough to stun livestock. You'll be begging us to take that dump off your hands within a year. Spoiler, I didn't beg. I built. 3 weeks after moving in, I got a letter from the HOA. Certified mail. Urgent. It read like a ransom note. Mandatory upgrades. Required. Violations, 47. Fines, $23,500. Compliance deadline, 14 days. I nearly choked on my coffee. They fined me for dock not aesthetically aligned with community standards. Wild vegetation. Roof slant inconsistent with subdivision original vision. Exterior paint tone inconsistent with lakeside palette. Excessive rustic character. Excessive rustic character. My house was being bullied for having a personality. I went to their emergency meeting like a condemned man walking into court. The community center smelled like industrial carpet and sadness. Denise strutted to the podium in heels sharp enough to be classified as weapons. She clicked a slide. My shack appeared on screen, but edited to look like a crime scene. Dark shadows. High contrast. Dramatic angles. It was practically a horror movie. This, Denise announced, is a threat to property values. Everyone turned to me like I had just confessed to arson. I stood. Ma'am, this place was built before your HOA existed. She smiled slow. Predatory. Like a snake unhinging its jaw. HOA rules apply retroactively. I pulled out an old deed Evelyn gave me. A 1951 document with language older than the interstate. This structure is grandfathered, I said. Your HOA was formed in 2017. You don't have jurisdiction. A murmur swept the room. Denise's eye twitched. It doesn't matter. Our architectural committee can't override Colorado real estate law, I said calmly. Zero authority over pre-HOA structures. A few residents gasped. Someone whispered, she lied to us. Denise slammed the gavel. Meeting adjourned. But the damage was done. And that's when the real war began. The attacks. The next morning. My waterline was mysteriously severed. The HOA's landscaper claimed he accidentally hit it while trimming grass. Filmed it. Documented it. Saved it. Next week, I received a letter claiming my renovations were unauthorized. I wasn't renovating. I was fixing a broken window. Then came the fake legal notices. Then noise complaints when I wasn't home. Then a surprise inspection from a supposed city official, who didn't have a badge and drove a minivan with no plates. Everything they threw at me. I documented. Filed. Organized. HOA Siege Rule Number 1. Documentation is armor. But it wasn't until the property line incident that I realized something bigger was going on. One morning, neon orange survey stakes appeared on my land, moved 10 feet inward. Meaning my dock suddenly sat on community land. Meaning the HOA could claim it. Meaning my entire lakefront could be reclassified. Meaning Denise wasn't harassing me. She was trying to steal the property. I hired my own surveyor, old cowboy named Ronnie who'd been measuring land since Eisenhower was president. He walked the perimeter, chewed on a toothpick, then muttered. These stakes ain't just wrong, they're criminal. Turns out, my land extended farther than I thought. Not less. And the shack. Built on land protected by a 1951 riparian rights clause, permanent, immutable. And legally untouchable. I didn't just own land. I owned the most valuable water rights on the entire lake. Now I understood why Denise was panicking. She needed my property for a deal. A secret development deal. A hotel. Hundreds of millions on the line. And I was the one piece she couldn't buy. So she decided to destroy me. The day I broke her game. It all came to a head. During a special assessment meeting. I showed up. Calm. Prepared. Ready for war. Denise strutted out in a red blazer like she was announcing the Hunger Games. We propose a special $2. 000 assessment per household, she declared, to fund legal action against the owner of the non-compliant structure. Translation. She wanted the neighborhood to pay for her lawsuit against me. But residents were already suspicious. Whispers. Side eyes. People holding stacks of mail they'd received from her. I stood. Before you vote, I said, I'd like to share something. I connected a USB stick to the projector. Slide 1. The original 1951 deed showing my property predates the HOA by 66 years. Slide 2. Survey records proving she falsified boundary markers. Slide 3. Video evidence of her landscaper cutting my waterline. Slide 4. Screenshots of her emails discussing Phase 1 of removal. Slide 5. Audio recording I captured, Denise telling someone. If we get him out by winter, the county reversion clause kicks in. Then we sell. Whispers turn to gasps. Gasps turn to outrage. Denise's face drained of color. Then I clicked to the final slide. A confidential 2019 document. A plan for a luxury hotel, on my land. The document listed Willow Point HOA as partners. And under facilitator, one name. Denise Hawthorne. Pandemonium erupted. Residents shouting. Phones recording. People demanding refunds, audits, resignations. Denise tried to regain control. This is fake. All of it. He's manipulating. Actual. Why, said a voice behind her, it's very real. It was County Commissioner Alvarez. In uniform. With 2 deputies. We've been investigating your office for months, he said. Thank you, Mr. Bennett, for supplying the missing pieces. Denise staggered backward. Wait, you can't. I'm the HOA president. And you're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, falsification of public records. And attempted property theft. The deputies cuffed her. Her manicure never stood a chance. Residents cheered. Some cried. Margaret, my neighbor, actually threw confetti. Later. The full truth came out. Denise and her husband had been secretly buying lakefront parcels for years, preparing for a massive resort project. But mine was the crown jewel. Without my shoreline. The entire development collapsed. When I refused to sell, she panicked. She forged documents. Harassed homeowners. Tried to trigger abandonment clauses. And funneled hundreds of thousands of HOA dollars into her scheme. She thought she was untouchable. She was wrong. The aftermath. The HOA was dissolved by the state. Residents got reimbursed. The county seized Denise's assets. Her real estate. License, gone. Her development plan, dead. And my property? Appraised at $5.80 million, because the lake exploded on social media and developers circled like sharks. Everyone asked if I'd sell. But I didn't. Instead, I renovated the shack into a little lakeside retreat. Kept the cedar walls. Rebuilt the dock. Put a rocking chair on the porch overlooking the water. Evelyn, the original owner, visits every summer. She sits beside me, sips sweet tea, and says, Harold, my husband, always said the wrong people would come sniffing around this lake. You were the right one. Sometimes, we just watch the sunset. Sometimes we talk about life. Sometimes I wonder how different everything would be if I'd walked away the day Denise laughed in my face. But I'm glad I didn't. Because that shack didn't just become valuable. It became vindication. A month ago, I got a letter. Certified mail. From prison. It was from Denise. Inside was a single line. You stole the future this community deserved. She still believes she was the hero. That stealing my land would have benefited everyone. That her plan justified everything. So here's my question to you. And I genuinely want to hear your thoughts in the comments. Is there ever a situation where stealing someone's property for the good of the community is justified? Or does individual ownership always come first? Because after everything she did, I still wonder what people truly believe.